Is our city on a hill really a mountain impossible to climb for anyone who has a bold idea? That's what organizers of a race called the IndyCar said on Friday when they abruptly canceled the high-speed competition through Boston's Seaport District planned for Labor Day weekend. This is what the race looked like last month as race cars whipped through the streets of Long Beach, California. Thousands of fans lined the street to see it. The plan in Boston would have created a start line on the west side of the convention center. The route included 11 high-speed turns. Drivers would have wound their way down Congress Street, back on the Hall Road, down D Street, and then completing a loop around the convention center. Almost from the moment the event was announced, there was opposition. It wasn't safe, there was too much pollution, too much noise, you get the idea. Joining me to talk about whether Boston is slow to roll out the welcome mat are Boston businesswoman C.A. Webb, co-founder and partner at the venture capital firm Assemble VC. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
And former City Council President Mike Ross, who's an attorney with Prince LaBelle. Good to see you too,
Good
Mike.
to see you.
Mike, you had a great piece. Well, I don't know if it's great. You had a piece in the Globe anyway. Boston can't be a place where good ideas go to die. Are we such a place?
We're in danger of becoming such a place if there's a succession of things like this that get turned down over and over. I mean, of course, there was the Olympics last year. There are other things that I referenced in my piece that were high-profile ideas that came here that got shut down.
Pat Stadium to South Boston. You didn't even mention East Boston. 56% voted against the casino.
Right, didn't mention the casino.
Yeah.
I could have, absolutely.
Maybe they're bad ideas. Is that a possibility?
There is a such thing as a bad idea, and I think the casino, where it's asking for a vote from the citizens, is one of those ideas where everyone has to jump on board one way or be against. But once the city says we're going to do this, I think the conversation should go into something like, okay, well, here's how we can do it best. Not everything should be up for a vote. I mean, we don't have a direct democracy where every proposal and idea is then put out to the neighborhoods for a vote.
So are you as negative as former city councilor is here or no?
Look, I think Mike's a great provocateur and does a good job stirring the pot, but I think let's put this in perspective. An IndyCar race, is that really what Boston wants to stand up and get excited about and use to, wave the flag for our city? There is so much innovation driving, being born within Boston, but coming to Boston.
Like
GE,
what?
I know you've beat to death on this show already.
Continue to beat it,
but
it's
that
fine.
will, pay dividends for decades to come. So I actually did a little research on IndyCar to see what people say in other cities. It's been turned down by cities all over the U.S. and the world over for all the reasons Boston turned it down. So Boston is not the, negative Nancy on this.
By the way,
one.
some people think the whole Indy thing was the guy doing a CYA kind of thing. Here is the guy, the guy who's head of the Grand Prix, John Casey, tells Herald, I feel like I got out of an abusive relationship. So he agrees with you. But here's Rich Davey, the former CEO of Boston 2024, on our radio show today with Chris Dempsey, who led the opposition, of course. But listen to what Davey has to say.
This was a new event, and I think for new events, it takes the city some time to appreciate what the event can be, and for those event sponsors to also understand that there's a lot of process you have to go through in order to have a successful event here.
I think that's the key. When he acknowledged a lot of process, you said a minute ago, when the city decides to do something, it seems to me that both the Olympics and this Indy thing, the city decided to do something rather than going to the neighborhoods and the people saying, what do you think of the idea before we decide whether we want to do this? Isn't it ass backwards?
Yeah, but I mean, Jim, how many
excuse the expression,
people are sitting around saying, wait a minute, I actually wanted to go to that, but they don't go to the meetings. They don't show up. You used to be a city councilor.
I was.
You know who shows up to the meetings.
Yes.
They show up. The people who are angry about an idea. That's who shows up, and then the idea gets killed. We seem to have the system. This is not about Indy being in Boston and that therefore making us a great city. This is about us being able to make decisions like a great city does. And those decisions should be seen through.
Let me side with him for just 1 minute in one area that's critical. I assume we all agree about, particularly for you, trying to get young innovators here. Housing. Everything's got to be small scale. Everything's got to be low. Everything's got to be this. If we're going to meet any of these affordable housing goals for low-income people and moderate-income people, we need larger housing things. That's a big fat no in the city that sort of underlines his notion, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
So how do you get past that?
Well, it's so funny because we're already one of the 50 densest places in the U.S., so I don't know why this is a problem to increase that density incrementally.
See, my sense is when I step back from this, I don't know if it relates to everything, I think this is all big dig, 2.0. It doesn't matter what it is. North-South Rail is now being discussed. Seth Moulton is a big supporter, as are Dukakis and Weld. But what are the first, even Moulton, when he's on a radio show, first thing out of his mouth, I know a lot of people think it's Big Dig 2. It's not. Isn't that an almost impossible hurdle to get over? We were promised a certain something on a big project, and they either lied to us or they had no idea what they're doing. How do you ever? Well, exactly. How do you ever get over that?
At some point, we have to grow up.
How? How do you do that?
Well, initiatives like this need to be seen through. I mean, this is why these smaller initiatives, which have they're nowhere near a big dig kind
Of course,
scale, nowhere
no,
near.
but I'm talking. No one's suggesting
they matter. But they matter because it gets into a flow of people saying it. Don't go to Boston.
But you know what
they
matters
don't adopt
more,
good
Mike,
ideas
I
there.
think? I mean, a number of councilors, as you know, have championed trying to get rid of a bunch of the regulations and licensing procedures that are so prohibitive to small businesses. And the city's been responsive. I mean, the councils come together, the mayors come together. There's a new online platform to bring much more transparency.
The city is not at fault
It's
here.
that day-to-day bread and butter stuff that matters more to me than a car race.
Sure. The city is the mayor championed this. He was actually trying to get this thing done. In the end, it got killed in a neighborhood group and by an environmental committee. Why is an environmental committee studying a road race that's going to be above the ground?
Yeah,
I mean,
but when you say
what does that
neighborhood
have to
group,
do-
the Indy people said they met with a lot of abutters, and the abutters said, we never saw these people. We don't even know what, sort of like with Debt Circle in Boston 2024, they never talk. So 15 seconds, how do we break the cycle? Not with government, with real people. What do we do?
Well, I do think CA is right on this, that there are ways to kind of bring some efficiencies to the permitting process. The city's been doing some of it. In that section of the city, it's a mess. It's the turnpike, the conventions. I mean, everyone's got jurisdiction there. It's
So how
complicated area.
do we disabuse people that everything is a big boondoggle, and actually we should look at something on the merit, and there are some good ideas we should embrace. How do we get to that point?
I think we do every day. So I think let's not write the narrative that isn't there.
Beautifully put, CA. It's nice to see you.
Great to see
Very
you.
positive
She's
person,
very
isn't
good.
she?
She
Mike
is
Ross,
very
it's great
good. Good to see you.
too.